I will go ahead and mute myself, and Kristen, let you take it away.
Thank you so much. Brian, Maryam, I'm so grateful you took the time today and took the time to be in the book and share your thoughts about life and everything in the pandemic. Food people are the best people. It really grew organically from like a tiny little idea about, what could I offer to my clients who are mostly restaurateurs, food people, as to what was going on in their lives. And sorry, timer going on, real life. So Ryan and I've always loved your food, so it was natural to reach out to Maryam. Our dear friend Anne connected us. We know each other through the Culinary Institute. I've learned not to say CIA because people go, what? I have to say chefs, not spies. So Culinary Institute. You guys are both like pillars of Napa Valley food life. So thanks so much for being a part of the book, which for people who haven't met it yet through Book Mine, profiles 129 people in California in some sort of the food business in one way or the other, and just really helped people share what they were going through in the pandemic through 2020. So Ryan, you guys at Contimo, you did a huge pivot from just like barely being open to doing incredible grocery boxes. Can you share, like, how did that come about? How did you figure that out? Like,
necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
The long and short of it is we were told with a 1 day's notice that we would have to close at our former location. And we're a small business, so we had to survive. We have a provisions component, which is all of our like sausages and meats and snacks. And we had relationships and commitments to farmers. And for us to maintain those and also serve the community, Kevin and I asked a simple question, which was, what will our community need? And since grocery stores were completely chaos at that point, we switched our website from our sandwich shop to a grocery delivery website, thanks to our wonderful employee, Adam, in 6 hours, and started shipping groceries the next morning.
That's amazing. I didn't realize it was that fast.
Yeah, we closed for 0 days.
Congratulations. That's amazing. Really well done. And people have asked me, what can people do? And I just, like, food clearly doesn't stop growing, right? Like that, like, obviously you can order takeout and but it doesn't stop growing. Like, purveyors need to keep moving food. And that's fantastic that you were able to just step up and figure that out and pivot on that. That's amazing.
I have to say, like, as a community member who benefited from that decision, one of the, of course, key elements was like continuing to support small businesses and small farms and ag. But the other piece was, it was a like really lonely and scary time for a lot of people, and having the Contimo team be able to bring you food and not let you lose that connection to the people that they're bringing to us every day in their delicious sandwiches. That was really important. It was important to me. So I'm going to add that.
Yeah, I think, connection is really something we've all really lost, right? In this time, like, I've been home essentially by myself. It's been really hard. So yeah, so to be able to see Ryan, to see Kevin, to see the team, like, I'm sure that was huge. So yeah, amazing. Yeah. So Maryam, so you were obviously we know each other through the Culinary Institute, through our mutual friend Anne. Where are you going now in these days? You're doing good friends, good food dinners. right?
Yeah.
And what are you up to these days?
Well, so I own my own company called Maryam and Company, and I offer basically the curation of experiences and community that will help a brand elevate itself, either by, of course, pulling in new audience members or revenue or building on their reputation. But I do that from an angle of food, wine, sustainability, diversity and equity as well. And I've been in the industry for about 10 years. In my previous role at the CIA, really, it was a requirement of mine. And of course, as the person that I am, to sort of be this intersection for a lot of different types of folks in the food and wine world. And when everything shut down, that piece of me didn't go away. So the dinners you're talking about actually are called Dinner with Mayor. My Instagram handle is Good Friends, Good Food. I'm not going to change it. Don't ask me to change it. But Dinner with Mayor was a virtual dinner series I launched in end of April. So it was really early on in 2020. And I tell people this very transparently. I did it because I just really missed people. And what ended up happening was this like craving for connection just came to the forefront. And I ended up having to offer like 3 right in a row in order to bring in everybody who wanted to come to dinner. And they're really small, virtual curated dinners, but there's always a wine or beverage component, a chef component. We support as many local businesses as we can through it. And then there's a not-for-profit component as well. We raise funds for community organizations, which of course in 2020 was a really big year for a lot of those not-for-profits doing the real work in the communities. So I was happy that it turned out to be something that was a great give back and a way to foster connection when you, like you said, it was really hard to create connection. But at the end of the day, it was really something I wanted to do because I miss having people around my table.
Same. Yeah. Yeah, when I think about, I used to host parties of, 20 people and cook all day to feed people. And I miss that connection. But yeah, and for me, that was what creating the Food People book was all of a sudden getting to connect with people again. Like, yes, I had to keep my mask on. Yes, we had to stay however many feet apart. But I actually got to go out and connect with people, and that just made such a big difference for me. So Ryan, so your doors have been open. Obviously your masks have been on and you guys have created new things. I'm really excited for your take home dinners. Again, I sent out my newsletter today about how excited I was for that. How's it been? Like, do you feel like people are still coming in and like?
Yeah, I feel super lucky because for the duration of the pandemic, though I'm home alone, I've had a consistent connection with the community, be it through the grocery delivery. We were at least corresponding with people every day or waving at them through their window. And then as we went to takeaway only at the shop with the masks and everything, we were still interacting and still talking to our farmers. And so I haven't had to that level of chaos that others have. And I feel super lucky for that. And then because we are so integrated in the Napa community, they've continued to show up and make us feel connected and make us feel a part of their lives. And to the point to like, we've run the gamut of people we see every day, like Naomi or Eric from Bookmine, or regulars we had prior to the pandemic that are immunocompromised and would call in orders and have us drop them off on their out on the curb. Like, it was all these adjustments, but it's been a year-long multitude of opportunities to serve and just finding the way to do that the right way. I don't know if that's a good answer to your question, but that's what it's felt like.
That's a perfect answer. Honestly, we're all just learning how to operate in this new reality, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
Totally. So a lot of people I've chatted with have said that they've had to like adjust their menus for things that are more takeout friendly or portable friendly. But Contimo is always like relatively portable, right? Is that a bad?
No, I mean, our former location, we were kind of dulled in for a window service. It was counter only, like it was all takeaway. When that fell apart, we had already been working on the new restaurant where we're building out now, which is where our shop is in town. And our carpenter and was like, "Hey, Mike, can you build something for us in 3 days?" And he's like, "Yeah, I have time in October." And I was like, "What about this weekend?" And he worked tirelessly through his birthday weekend to put our shop together and
Mike.
made a facsimile of that's Mike, of our takeaway shop. So we didn't have to alter the menu there. But what we saw in really big transition was the provisions portion of our menu, which was the sausages and the bacon and the marinated chickens and things that are easy to cook at home. That the demand for that grew a lot. Like people weren't out for biscuits because they weren't on their way to work, but they needed dinner to be simple and easy. And so basically, like if our workload maintained the same level, like what we were making shifted. And really we just kept interacting with our community and asking them, what do you need? What do you want? And trying to use our skill set to facilitate those needs.
Well, also, if I can interject again, like one of the things, and I know every restaurant has had to make really difficult decisions and try to manage margins as best as possible with these new models, which has been incredibly challenging. But one of the things that I find really endearing about Contimo is that in serving the community, they didn't change any prices, even though they were affected by the cost of goods increasing over the pandemic year by a lot. And that's something that I think speaks to, the quality of Contimo all around. But that we don't hear being spoken about a lot right now is just the impact on restaurant owners, just from a cost of goods standpoint, like running your business, not even talking about food, although food is definitely impacted.
It is insane. Like what we're having to pay for to take out bags and gloves and sanitizer and masks. Like the cost of latex gloves went up by 8 times. The cost of sanitizer went up by 5 times. The cost of beef products went up by 4 times. The bags has doubled or tripled, but the access to bags has diminished. So there's not, like I tried to order takeaway bags this week and the bag manufacturer is out of glue. So they can fold the bags, but they can't connect them. So dealing with those types of hurdles was something I never forecasted.
Wow. As a consumer, I feel like I'm a pretty in touch person. Like I understand a fair amount, but no, those are dots I would never ever put together.
In the restaurant world, like it's not our job to educate you on the cost of what we do. It's to facilitate your needs and feed you. So we have a small sign in the shop that kind of explains that hurdle, but we're not going to be like, "Thanks for coming in. By the way, it's going to be twice as much next week." It's not going to make anybody feel good.
It's my job to say those things for what I do as a living. So I'm happy to say it on behalf of Ryan.
So thank you for being here, Maryam.
I'm just here to keep him honest.
Honestly, there's a certain number of people who are like, "Oh, I could buy these ingredients and I could make my own biscuit and like whatever, I could make a sandwich." And I know I couldn't make a Ryan Contimo sandwich. No way. But yeah, it's obviously it's not just like it costs as much in flour and butter and whatever. It's significantly more than that. Plus your expertise and you're a genius. So
I just got flashbacks from when no one could get a hold of flour.
Right? Oh my gosh. Like it was almost exactly a year ago, right? Like no flour, toilet paper. So thinking back to that, like a year ago, like, have you learned anything? Would you do anything differently? Like,
Uh, I don't even know if that question is answerable. Have I learned
no.
anything? Absolutely. A lot about community. I've learned a lot about perseverance. I've learned a lot about emotion. I've learned um, like trying to meet people's needs. Like all those things are what you learn. Did I learn about food? No, I learned about like what food means to my community, what food means to like our farmers trying to offload the stuff they've grown. The people who have like where flour, for instance, when it was gone, we still had access to flour because we had committed to the mills to purchase this amount of flour. And so like learning that like, okay, these things don't need to be utilized for what we planned them for, but they need to be used. And like, how does getting this from point A to point B to point people in between? And it was basically, I know all of you that know me, I know I talk about community way too much. But one of the things that we've been meditating on and talking about in our own shop is how connected we are to the infinite nature of the connection we have. Like just one sandwich, like you were talking about biscuits, like just considering a biscuit and like how many people are involved in that is insanity, because it's not just us making you a biscuit and like making sausage and making the biscuits themselves. It's the people who made the butter, who made the flour, who made the buttermilk, who like raised the pigs, who transported them, who worked in the fields. Like the level of connection that a single bite of food has to it is enormous. And I think this year with supply chain breakdown, with pricing, with unemployment, like all of those things highlighted how many people are involved. And that's just food. Like if you step back to the rest of the world, it's insanity. So we learned a lot about the value of the people around us. Try to keep that at the forefront.
Yeah. I mean, to piggyback off of that, I feel like one of the things that I learned was, as a hospitality professional, we think that connection is only facilitated when you're in the same room as someone. And there were actually really creative ways to connect with people virtually, of course, but then also really grounding ways to connect with people within your community because you were in one place for so long, you know. So I learned, or we learned, the importance of the morning walk with a friend, or you know, supporting local coffee shop on my way to a bike ride, or you name it, anything outside. Ryan and I both are avid outdoor enthusiasts, which has kept us sane. But yeah, I think that I learned there are really, really interesting ways to craft experiences around connection, and we didn't even think about them before. There are businesses, especially in the culinary world, much like the Culinary Institute of America, there are smaller businesses who were already serving a small virtual audience through cooking and online like wine tastings, things like that. Those folks have all experienced triple, quadruple the amount of bookings because of their virtual or online presence. So there is connection available in the virtual space. And I think just as a hospitality professional, it really challenged me to think differently about how I can curate within that space and craft the same type of really meaningful experience that we would in person. And yeah, it's going to be different, and it's not going to be the same as like a big warm hug, but it could still be something really special. That was a learning for sure.
And I think that's great. Like to be pushed out of what the norm is.
Yeah.
And realize that there are a multitude of ways to find joy in that type of connection is comforting.
Yeah. True. Would you do anything differently? That was the other part of the question.
Did I do anything differently? I have no idea. I don't try again. I tell you that much.
Yeah, we're not going back.
Yeah, no, only forward. But yeah, no, both of you have created such amazing connection and community between your two like realms of genius. It's really awesome. So
I mean, we benefit from it. We're neighbors. So
I'm super jealous. I didn't know that. I mean, I know you through completely different like spheres, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I drive to Napa for this conversation? That would have been so much more fun.
There's
Soon.
there's leftover salad.
Oh. Like I literally in my email today, I was like, okay, so every time I go by Contimo, I order 3 meals because I have like a breakfast sandwich and then like my sandwich for later. And then hopefully they've got something for like takeaway that'll be my dinner. So yeah,
Exactly what we want.
I'm an addict.
You're not alone.
Well, what else is going on, guys? I mean,
I don't know if this has like been like openly expressed to beyond the people that I know very closely, but we are building a full restaurant in that space. So
last time I was there, like when I photographed you, you had that side like breezeway. Like what? Okay, so tell us more about what's coming up.
Right now we're utilizing like 240 square feet of 3,000, and so we're in the middle of building a like full kitchen, and we're going to add beer and wine and grocery and indoor outdoor seating. Give you more reasons to hang out with us, because in a few months we'll be able to hang out.
Yay!
So we're really excited about it, and we'll have an actual kitchen. For the 6 years we've been in business in Napa, we have had a toaster oven and a sandwich press. So we can't wait to make real food for you.
Amazing. So that's going to be amazing.
Diet goes to hell immediately.
You can eat really healthy at Contimo
That's
too.
True, but
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, okay.
Maybe we'll have dinner with Maryam in real life.
Yeah, that would be great.
Or you can bring all of your food, and we'll have a big party when everything is back.
I mean, I would love that. That would be.
So I have to say, I read this on Instagram today, Kristen, and I think it's a really fun thing for me to think about. Growing up, when I was 14 years old, I was working as a dishwasher in a restaurant in rural Tennessee. And the owners would always talk about what it must be like at Chez Panisse. That was like this restaurant they dreamed about and I never heard of. And then I moved here. I got to, obviously I've met Alice a few times and got to know the Chez Panisse crew. And to find myself in a book on the pages with Alice Waters and like David Kinch is another idol of mine. It was a really, really humbling experience. So I was so happy you made one of my dreams come true that I didn't even know was a dream. So that was very fun.
Oh my gosh, Ryan, that's amazing. It's actually,
I asked Ryan if that was his first job, was the dishwasher.
Yeah, I took my dishwashing job to avoid going to my high school girlfriend's dance recital. My sister worked at the restaurant and said, our dishwasher quit, do you want to come in? And I was like, if I go do this, I can make $35 and not go to a dance recital. So I didn't do it. Turns out the dance recital was really great. Also turns out I love working in restaurants.
I was a pizza girl.
There you go. See, we're doomed from the start.
Wow. Oh, that's really sweet of you to say, Ryan. I really appreciate that. Actually, I have to say, so Tanya Holland was the first person to say yes before I even knew this was going to be a book, and Alice was the last. And people have asked like, oh, how did you decide to arrange people? And you did it. And so I had photographed at Boulette's larder at the Fair Building, and Emerald was a friend of a friend of a friend. And anyway, they reintroduced us because it had been a while since I had had that event. So the person who reconnected us, and Emerald said yes, so she was willing to be in the book. And then the friend who reconnected us said, well, she's actually really good friends with Alice Waters. And I thought, well, because I never thought in my wildest dreams that Alice would be in the book, honestly. And so Emerald had said, well, okay. So I forwarded her. It's like, well, would you send this? Like the friend of a friend was like, they're really good friends. Maybe you should consider it. So the friend sent it on, and Emerald, I just asked Emerald, would you like consider sending this on to Alice? I hear you really good friends. And anyway, so Alice graciously wrote back like, that sounds really nice. And it sounds like it's for a good cause because 15% of proceeds are going to No Kid Hungry. And we could do some good together. And then we'll finally get to be in a book together. And I was just like blown away. So that's when I decided to do alphabetical by first name. So Alice is the first person in the book, Emerald's the second. So they're right next to each other in the book. And then it goes right through to Yuka Leroy is the last. So, but yeah, no, and it was really important to me to have like a huge range of perspective from the very, very beginning of someone's career. Finn and Stella are like incredible chefs out of Oakland who are like just trying to find their first restaurant spot, and they're incredibly young chefs, but their flavors are unbelievable. And I'm sure that the world is going to hear about them. And, you know, to people late, like who have really made it, like Michael Tess, like Alice, you know, so it's like all of their voices from every perspective and every point in their careers. And that was really important to me in making the book. So Brian, I'm thrilled you took the time. And I hadn't met Kevin before then, but I was glad to meet him. And Maryam, I'm so glad Anne introduced us. So yeah.
Yeah, the book happened in a really beautiful way, and it happened really fast. So I mean, that's also like speaks to the connection that was possible in 2020. Everyone was available and here and able to participate, which was really special. But I really appreciate the way you explained it. You know, I feel like people in the food world are constantly on a similar journey or a similar plane, but are at just different parts or points of that journey or plane. And so like it's really special to share those with the community too, because it isn't just about this like final achievement or ascension. It's also like this is really day-to-day business and what it means to be a small business and a chef and or someone who's very chef adjacent like me.
Well, I mean, there were, I had ranchers and farmers and growers. I mean, it wasn't just, yes, the majority of people are chefs in the book, but chefs or restaurateurs, but yeah, I mean, it's a story. And I think fundamentally at the heart of it, I mean, food people, I mean, it's about nourishment, it's about caring, it's about nurturing your community physically, but also emotionally. So yeah.
So Naomi has asked a couple of questions in the chat box, so
Oh.
it would now be a good time for me to read those for you.
100%.
All right. So Maryam, she is curious if you could walk us through one of your dinners that you used to give and will hopefully give again soon.
Yeah, I still do host them because they became such an integral part of the new business, like the association to the new business for a lot of folks, that I really felt like they should stay a part of what we were offering. So walk you through dinner. Well, some of these are trade secrets, Naomi, but you're in the know as far as I'm concerned. So here goes. Usually there's 20 or less people, mostly folks who haven't met each other, although at this point we've held 12 dinners. And so now we have our regulars at the Dinner with Mayor restaurant, that virtual restaurant. And basically in the beginning, we didn't charge anything for it. It was a suggested donation, and anything we got went straight to the organizations we were fundraising for, because all I was trying to do at the end of the day was, again, foster connection and see folks. But now we're able to basically like bring people in through different platforms, folks who I've actually never met, which has been really special. And what you get is you and hospitality, and you're provided with all of the recipes that you'll need for the dinner, as well as, of course, we illustrate or highlight our partners. So sometimes that means we're working with a guest chef that's actually going to be on the dinner, and also usually a small winery or a winemaker will join us for the dinner, and we'll talk through pairings. we always theme the dinners. And like one of my favorites was actually breakfast for dinner. And the whole reason, you could appreciate this, but the whole reason we did that was because I didn't want to stress the pockets of anybody. And that one was really early on. So we thought, what can you do with everything you need? Like you might already have everything you need. And I was like, speaking from personal experience, always have breakfast food around. So the dinners are meant to be really easy and accessible, so that you're not getting to the dinner. Of course, you have to cook it yourself. I can't come and cook it for you. And they're also meant to be, you know, really affordable options. So you come to the dinner, you meet a lot of people you don't know. There's some really fun hospitality elements that I invite you to come and experience. And of course, I'm a big fan of music. So everybody gets some music prior to the event, some really like special tidbits along the way. They're just really curated. And my favorite part of the dinner series, honestly, is that when it's over, inevitably people are like, what do you mean the dinner is over? It's 2 hours. It's only been 2 hours. And I'm like, what do you mean it's been 2 hours? Like, I got to go do the dishes. But
And I've heard people that attended the dinners meet someone via Zoom and then stay connected and become friends.
yeah, so my become friends. We had someone who got a job through meeting someone they didn't know through Dinner with Mayor. We've had folks become like really close friends and support each other, and that's just been such a special thing to have be an outcome of Dinner with Mayor. So hopefully that answers your question, Naomi, but I invite you to come to dinner.
Yeah, have a dinner with Mayor.
Come have dinner with Mayor.
I think all of us are probably going to go out and sign up for that.
Exactly.
So Kristen, have you done many virtual events for this book so far, or are you just starting to ramp up now?
There's been a handful. I did a few kind of leading up to the holidays. I guess the second part of that question was, so the timeline for the book, it was barely an idea in end of May in 2020. I started reaching out to people and started knocking on doors. I want to say my first portrait that I did for the book was June like 18th or something. And I went to press right after Labor Day. So it was 14,000 photographs of 129 people in 7 weeks. My graphic designer is amazing. She totally pulled it out. I have a print liaison who helped me like communicate with the printer in China. And so but we didn't with, this is pre-election, there were tariffs and there were trades and there were a lot of issues with getting things from China. So it wasn't just COVID, but it was COVID and the previous administration made things really, really delayed. So whereas my first book that I published in 2014, I sent it to press and it came back. It shipped and then I had it in hand 4 weeks from when it shipped. It literally was on a giant boat from China for more than 4 weeks this time. It was more like 7. So I just barely got them in hand before Christmas. So I had a few virtual events before that. Didn't get to have like a big launch party like my last book. But a few online events. And then I was on a podcast today that came out today. But yeah, just like little things here and there.
Ryan will host your post-launch party.
Yay! I would love that.
Books and biscuits.
Yes.
Oh, done and done. Sold.
Well, if anybody else has any questions or wants to join in the conversation, feel free to unmute yourself and go for it.
I want to know what Mike and Kelly are.
Yeah.
Mike, what?
There you go.
Oh,
We are not chefs.
Well, we have a little bit of Pekino sauce for these.
Ooh.
Tacos.
tacos,
You know.
all right.
Kid friendly.
Nice.
And some artichokes, because
Artichokes.
artichokes and tacos go together.
Grilled artichokes.
Mm.
Love it.
Oh my gosh, they looked so good at the store today. Our artichokes are coming. I love it. California, let's do it.
I like peas. I'm a pea season. Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, I saw a pea risotto in the paper this weekend that looked amazing.
Are you sure it wasn't in Contimo's newsletter?
I mean, it could have been. Yes. In fact, I'm so wrong. Yes, it was in your newsletter.
It was a good looking one.
Maybe I have one more question.
Go
All
for
right.
it.
I have to say, I thought more people would come out for this event, but I've noticed that people are shifting back into their
Real life.
pre-pandemic routines, and I don't know, like maybe people are just eating out at restaurants right now.
That would be the best case scenario, I think.
I think there's probably lines at the book mine.
What'd you say?
Tons of people in line at the book mine right now.
Definitely. 7:45 on a Monday is our hot time.
Yeah, Monday night.
We're at capacity.
We are technically open right now, though.
10 to 8. I know.
And 8.
10 to
You know
8.
the drill.
I always show up at 9:30. I mean, did you say you had one more question, or did I miss it?
Oh, just, I guess I'm curious how, virtual events, Maryam, you'll know the answer to this. I'm sure you'll have some thoughts. How long will virtual events thrive? Will it be forever? Will we go to some hybrid?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I'd be in a really nice gambling position if there was like a known factor to that question, right? And there are so many different options for people. There are people who are exceedingly comfortable being with a lot of other folks and traveling and getting to do what they want to do. And then there are folks who are still not leaving home and are very regimented with their distancing, if they are even being social. Both those groups of people, though, don't necessarily add up to the formula that will be events. So we have to just take all this with a grain of salt. For sure, restaurants are going to be first before events. We already are seeing it, but specific events like these, and let's call it like fundraisers or galas or things that are like more panel oriented or like speaker oriented versus weddings and things of that nature, right? Weddings are next. Things that are really socially driven are going to come back first. And I think when it comes to, honestly, the event world, we have to be prepared to offer both. There's a segment of everyone's business that has now become accustomed to attending something they couldn't before because they were able to do it from home. So we're anticipating that at least for the next 12 months, there will be more often than not a hybrid element to an event that's of a professional nature or a fundraising nature, simply for people's safety and comfort, and to not lose that visibility of the virtual world, which can be a lot higher than what you can fit in a room, right? So
In a broad spectrum of people you can gain from the globe instead of just your town.
Exactly. So you really can expand your audience. And when we talk about people, like we talk about community building because it's very centric to who we are as people. But there are brands that are doing this on like a global scale where they're creating communities that, have one singular need and people are coming together around that need, like Facebook communities, and it really grows from there. There are like a lot of really sophisticated communities out there as well. So we've seen a lot of shift in that virtually, and it's really interesting because the other piece to becoming hybrid or even just to becoming virtual is that if you've existed for a long time, it's harder to make this shift.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there are
Smaller
people
is better.
for sure. Yeah.
I'll throw out there too that I do a lot of work for the performing arts organizations in San Francisco. And so it's been really interesting actually. My restaurant clients haven't started asking me back yet, but the opera and the symphony actually have been, because they are they're recording things to get their creative work back out there. So actually, and I feel like that's actually how they're going to connect with their next generation of patrons, is honestly people who never thought they could afford to go to the opera are going to be seeing these performances that they're putting out there online now, because we can't gather in person. And so they're potentially going to connect with this whole new generation of opera lovers, music lovers that never thought, oh, I wouldn't be into that, or I could never afford it, right? Those are the two things. Oh, who's going to be into it? And but they're recording it, and they're creating they're creating a barrier-less avenue for these new people to discover something that they never knew that they would love. So, I mean, there was a silver lining of all this horrible year that we've all gone through.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the changes that accessibility grant, right? I mean, having accessibility to something, even we think about like food and wine, we're very lucky to be in Napa, but also just areas that don't have the type of agriculture around us, or around them, that we do. And like having the accessibility to the information or to the art form, that's changing the landscape of how we have to think about how we engage the consumer and remain accessible.
Absolutely. Yeah, no matter what your medium is, you have to engage your consumer and you have to connect, whether it's whatever, food, music, arts, whatever your medium is. Yeah. So
Books.
books. Oh yeah.
We do love books.
I mean, we've definitely gotten authors that we would not have been able to get otherwise,
Yeah.
because it was virtual, because we don't have to, bigger authors often, or actually any authors sometimes, they want you to pay for a hotel, they want you to pay for a flight or whatever, and
I saw
that's
Kristen.
not, that's just not doable for us. But they don't have to do that when they're just at home. We've gotten authors from England who wouldn't be touring the US at all, which is cool. I
Yep.
kind of hope they don't go away. I don't know. This is nicer. I can sit here in my PJs and I don't have to set up 40 chairs. So
Yeah.
And we can put our kids to bed in the middle of an event and
right.
they both attend.
Right.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's great. I really hope to like hug people again. I do. This is really nice and easy, So, I hope we keep going in a certain path on this stuff.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank
This
you,
is such a
everyone.
treat. I
Yeah.
really appreciate your taking time out of your Monday night. It was really great chatting with everybody.
And hopefully sometime in person in the not too distant future.
I
Yeah.
hope so.
Yeah.